I think this movie is a good look at historically how the charitable community in America started to blossom in the late 1800s. There's also a bit of intrigue that wouldn't be out of place in a film like Gangs of New York.
Wow, there's a comparison. Hi, I'm Teresa. Welcome to our weekend show of Cocoon Cast, where we deep dive into movies and discuss all things cinema.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. Today we'll be discussing the new movie, Cabrini.
And Rebecca, we have some courtroom news.
Looks like Hollywood finally bit the bullet on the Rust trial.
Ooh, let's get started.
Mother Cabrini is a nun with a mission from God, and she doesn't take no for an answer. When His Holiness the Pope entrusts her to bring shelter and community to 5 Points, Cabrini soon discovers that the world outside can be just as stubborn and unyielding as she is. Can she truly make a difference in this inhospitable environment, or will she be forced to leave without having done so?
Rebecca, you wanted to see this movie.
I wanted to see it because Mother Cabrini is a very interesting person in terms of modern faith community. She definitely wanted to bring the complete holistic perspective. You can't take care of people without meeting their practical needs first. And in the American church, that was revolutionary at the time.
My sisters, if we are to build an empire of hope, it seems we must first conquer New York.
Yes, I wanted to see it as well. I saw the trailers. You saw the trailers. Mother Cabrini, Sacred Heart Hospitals, back in the day. Everybody I know was born there, including myself and my brothers. She has done a lot of wonderful things for the faith community that many people, I don't know if they attribute that to her. I think the challenge I had with the movie is, other than knowing Cabrini, I didn't know much going into it.
I think the big challenge for me was making her life interesting. If you just look at her Wikipedia page, it looks like she did this thing, she got kicked out. She did this thing, she got kicked out. She did this thing, and then she did this thing and this thing, this thing. I was kind of curious to see how they were going to turn it into a solid character drama, which the trailer gave me hope that there was going to be a solid character drama in play here. I wasn't like blown away, but I think it's really cool to see Angel Studios kind of tiptoeing into these genres, which they've been kind of scared to do before.
Meaning not them specifically, but just Hollywood in general.
No, I mean specifically Angel Studios because of the faith-based community. It's really easy just to do, let's focus on the spiritual works. Cabrini is a very practical person, so you can bring, this is an action that she took. This is a choice that she made in this space to help other people, and it impacted people on a notable level.
I need an orphanage with more room, where my children can be children.
I agree. She did a lot in, as you were saying, the real practical piece. One aspect I really liked about the movie was she would have conversations with people, and it wasn't one-sided.
We are bold, or we die.
This is how I learned to live in America.
It was boots on the ground. She's helping the people in 5 Points, New York, which is just, for all intents and purposes, it's a slum. And children are dying. She took over the orphanage. But the dialogue I actually really appreciated because she really went to bat, and it wasn't, oh, all the politicians don't like her because she's a nun. She was talking to the Pope.
Your Holiness, the world is too small for what I intend to do.
The Archbishop. I mean, she was talking to everyone, and the acting was really good in that. It was very believable, the discussions.
One of the things I like about this movie was it didn't water down 5 Points. It's still very edgy in terms of this is what happened to people that lived in this environment. So you might want to check some of the warnings before you go see this. This movie is not pulling many punches.
There is a real grittiness to the film. It didn't feel like it was for show. It felt as if the director really wanted the audience to see what was really happening.
Open your eyes. This is who we've come to serve.
Cabrini's, right, her sisters are going through tunnels. There was one young lady who was in prostitution, and not by choice. It sounded as if, again, it goes back to survival. I appreciated that because I think for people to really respect Cabrini and what she provided to New York when just the opposition was so incredible.
Do people know that in America, the greatest nation on earth, rats have it better than the children of the immigrant?
Be careful, mother. This place will eat you alive.
I really appreciate the fact that they took the time to do this, because the New York we experience now is very different than the New York that Cabrini and her sisters encountered.
And some people, I don't think, know that. They don't, either they've not seen it, they've not experienced it, as you said, for sure. But I appreciate movies like this being made, because if you're Catholic, or if you have strong faith, or if you have historical knowledge, you know who Cabrini is.
She was definitely a very influential person in circles not involving faith as well.
You have an election coming up, do you not?
I believe I'm being threatened by a nun.
I like the fact that they talked about
Agreed.
some of the hospitals that she was trying to create in that whole system, and how it was for everyone, not just people of faith, not
That's
just
true.
people of her ethnicity that she was trying to reach.
You think you're gonna march in here and tell me?
I want the best hospital for your people and for mine.
Correct, which was the Italian Americans, and I appreciated knowing more about their history as well. The compassion that I hope the audience feels if they choose to go see this movie is palatable to me. It's, wow, you really came out feeling a wide range of emotions.
They just keep coming.
Mio papà si è suicidato e mia mamma è morta di tifo.
The challenge I think this movie did have was it was 2 hours and 25 minutes. It was a long movie.
You and I were discussing on the ride back to the studio that we have a phrase we like to use sometimes. It's called slow burn.
Slow burn, yes.
This movie to me felt like a snail burn. It didn't feel like a 2 hour and 25 minute movie. This felt like a 3 hour and 20 minute movie to me.
It did, and I was teasing you, the joke about it felt like Schindler's List, right? Long movie. It's interesting because it felt long, but I was engaged the whole time. But in my head, it was funny. I was just thinking they could probably go a little faster. They could probably go a little faster.
The pacing was what...
But at the same time, it feels so contradictory because it was a good movie and it told the story well.
I agree you need time to tell Cabrini's story, but I agree with you. I just the pacing is what killed me in the end for this movie.
Do we have any questions from the box?
Let's talk about the production. Do you have some thoughts about the production part?
It felt too clean. It didn't feel lived in. This movie to me felt a little too nice and tidy in some ways. And I think that kind of distracts the audience. Is like, what is Cabrini really trying to clean up here?
Which is interesting because we just said, oh, it's so gritty. It's so gritty.
Well, the actions are gritty.
Some of the set design was gritty, meaning when she's in the sewers and when she's going through. But I know you and I were talking about on the way back to the studio, it felt as if it were a play. And that's not terrible, but there were certain scenes that felt like, as you said, just a little bit too orchestrated. It conveys a feeling. And it wasn't bad. It didn't feel like it was period inaccurate or anything crazy, right? You don't see, a cell phone on the table or something like that,
gosh,
or,
that
somebody's
bad.
watching TV in the background. But it just had a feel to it that it was just a little bit too crisp, a little bit too sharp, and not as chaotic. And even some of, little smudges on some of the kids, it felt a little too
Hollywoodized.
It did. And I don't think that was the purpose. And maybe many people in our cinema community wouldn't even think about it or notice it. And I'm, like you said, I'm not trying to be nitpicky, and I don't think you are either. But it was one of those things where I noticed it, and it was enough to take me away from that moment that they were trying to convey.
Some of this stuff should not be glamorous. I don't mind it looking aesthetically pleasing.
That's
but
good.
Some of it just felt a little too glamorous and over the top in some ways. And that distracts me, especially when you're in an environment where it should not be glamorous. It needs to be messier. I love the color saturation on this film. I felt like the color balances were nice. I could look at the whole scene and get a sense of the space, and I could tell where the camera was trying to get me to focus without being too spotlight here.
No, the framing was really good. I would agree.
There's one scene, it's really strange to me how it stuck with me, but she collapses in the sewer. And the framing was really beautiful on that, especially with the use of light and shadow. I felt like the lighting department did a good job on this movie.
It was a beautiful movie. in that respect.
I'm really happy we had a cast that could work with the material instead of against the material, because there's all these small things, like we mentioned, like the set decoration, that just threatened to distract me from this film.
The acting was phenomenal in my mind. Do we have any other questions from the box?
We recently reviewed Ordinary Angels, which was from Angel Studios, the same studio that brought us Cabrini. Kind of compare those two. They're both true stories. They're both about the life events of these folks. What do you think makes one better or one stand out more?
I think the thing for me with Cabrini that's going to last a lot longer than Ordinary Angels is the story feels like you're getting an in-depth perspective on the things that are really tangible in the lives of the people that what's their hurt. The opening scene of this movie is literally a little boy losing his mother. In Ordinary Angels, it almost kind of becomes a shock, and you don't really get to see how this affects these characters later. With Cabrini, you see the journey of this little boy, even though you don't know his mother for very long. I know you and I talked about Ordinary Angels. I wish they would have spent more time getting to know the mother. But in Cabrini, you have the dialogue that allows you to get to know the mother.
The investment piece, correct? That to me is important. I think with Cabrini, as we were talking about, even though it's a snail burn, meaning very slow to move through the process, I was still more invested. It's interesting because Ordinary Angels is about one family, one individual, the difference one person can make, which we love that story. But I appreciate there was a wonderful epilogue at the end of Cabrini. The only challenge was we would see one small part of her existence. And you and I talked about, boy, there were so many things that the movie didn't cover in the course of the movie. But the epilogue kind of gave you a little bit of a snapshot into it.
I feel like Ordinary Angels did that too, though. They kind of gave you a snapshot of where their lives continued. Mm-hmm. And they also did the thing that I do not like with these movies is you scan a ticket, you buy a ticket, you get an extra scene. The Madam Web director even said, I'm going to put a movie out there. I'm not going to tease you with another scene. If the gal from Madame Web gets it, come on, guys.
I laugh because that's your bugaboo. It's not even the ticket, pay it forward, because I know you're like, oh, okay, that's fine, I can do this. But there's an extra scene that bothers you. I know, I get that. The other thing we did fail to mention with Cabrini is there are a lot of subtitles. A lot of Italian is spoken, which I think added to the authenticity of the movie and the enjoyment for me.
One of the things I really liked about this movie was, even though there was a cultural bias against the Italian language, Cabrini uses the Italian language to emphasize the roots of people coming from Italy and how they interacted with each other as compared to the wider culture. I thought that was kind of neat.
I agree with that. It felt very integrative versus separatist, or it's like, no, you only need to do it this way, or you only need to do it this way. They were talking about singing because it was part of the heart, and I thought that was a big takeaway for me.
I was a little bit worried. There's one part in the movie near the beginning where they're like, we're going to only speak English now, but they very quickly bounce between the two pretty evenly.
Correct, and I think that was very honoring to the people. Rebecca, is that time of show? I have 5, I don't know, kind of nun moths today. 5, 1 to 5, what do you think?
Well, I gotta say 3 of them are back in the habit today.
Wow, right? Number 1 reason.
I feel like this movie's a pretty solid movie, but there's enough little nitpicks that it doesn't make it a fantastic movie. I think this movie's a good look at historically how the charitable community in America started to blossom in the late 1800s. There's also a bit of intrigue that wouldn't be out of place in a film like Gangs of New York.
Wow, there's a comparison. Worth a watch, I hear.
3 moths worth a watch.
Absolutely. Alrighty. 1 to 5. I'm between 2, so I always think I'm good on this. Then we get here and I'm like, oh, now I have to think again. I would say it is a 3 and a wing.
Number 1 reason why.
Oh, right. Here it is. I actually added the wing because I was in your camp around a 3. But I think historically, this is a story that needs to be told. I think it's encouraging, it's inspiring, But as you know, I was teasing you at the beginning of the show, I was born in a Sacred Heart hospital. Obviously, the impact extends beyond. And I always am a sucker for the one life matters. And there's a part where her health is failing.
Doctors tell me 5 years.
5 would be a miracle.
In that case, I should get to work.
And yet she still continues to get up each day. And there's a lot of her quotes woven into the story that I think are inspiring.
Your Holiness, we can serve our weakness or we can serve our purpose, not both.
And encouraging for people today. Good, inspiring movies. The, hey, anybody can do anything. Put your mind to it, move, and do it.
I also like that they didn't set her up as this perfect saint. She still had her struggles. She still had the things that she needed to overcome to become better in the person that she wanted to be.
She's the first United States citizen to be canonized. So there is a piece where some things in her life were recognized and noticed, but honestly, it was much later other pieces and other people came to appreciate what she had done. That to me is the legacy piece, right? What is your legacy? And I think it's great to provide stories of that. Those are inspiring. Hey, cinema community, if you've seen the movie Cabrini or plan to see the movie Cabrini, maybe you are the historic buff that we are not. Maybe you know all things Cabrini. We'd love for you to comment below and share with our community what you know. And as we said, if you've seen the movie, share your rating with us. We'd love to see it.
If you enjoyed our review on Cabrini, please like, which helps more viewers find our cinema community, and subscribe. It really helps us out, and you won't miss our upcoming reviews, and please share it with your friends.
Rebecca, it is that time of the show to talk about who we are. Not sponsored by today.
You promised me a sponsor this week. Come on, man.
Oh, I can't make that promise. That's not going to work. We decided to talk to Star Products. Do you know anything about Star Products?
The olive oil people?
They are the olive oil people. All this talk about Cabrini, thinking about Italian foods. We love Italian foods. Who better to sponsor us than Star Fine Foods?
I guess they had other ideas, didn't they?
They had other ideas. You remember Star Foods? Remember the olive oil back in the day when you were just a wee little ass?
I remember carrying the tin and go, can we get this one? You're like, no, it's too big.
Funny, they actually still sell this product in the 3-liter size on their website. You can actually go on their website and they'll deliver you a 3-liter tin.
I wonder how long that would last you in your kitchen.
Yeah, I don't know. You'd share it with everybody, right? Share with the masses because 3 liters is an awful lot of oil to go through, even for our family. I found it very fascinating. I wanted to understand a little bit more about their history when I'm talking to them and when they say no. But, you know, let's start with a good start. They started in 1898 in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
Back in the Cabrini days, too, right? It falls along the lines around her lifetime.
Wonder if she ever used it when she was cooking.
That's a question. That's a question I would love to ask. However, nobody's going to answer that question. Of course, you're wondering, where did they get the Star name? Because it was not the Star family that started this.
You just love saying the word star, don't you?
I do, but it was great because they were thinking, hey, we're patriotic, right? An Italian family, and they thought the Star showed how patriotic they were.
That's cute.
I thought it was kind of cool, right? They have a ton of products, not just olive oil. Did you know such things?
Do they have balsamic vinegar too? I mean, that's always useful.
They do. They have, and olives, they sell, right, fancy that. But they have all different kinds of olives, vinegars, things like that. I did not know this, though. They actually have little olive packs, like olives on the go.
Oh, olives on the vine, eh?
Yeah, right. You just pull a vine, go 5 servings each. You just have a little bag of olives versus getting them. And I remember when I was a kid, right, my dad would buy the big vat of olives. And you'd literally, if you want olives on the go, you're putting them in your own little Ziploc bags, I tell you. They actually thought of such things. But you go on their website, right? I want to learn a little bit more. I want to hear more about them. They have a ton of recipes on their website.
Well, that's nifty.
Yeah, I thought so too. And if you want to eat a little healthier, they talk about the Mediterranean diet. And you can order everything off their website if your local store does not carry their product.
Sounds like I might be ordering some cookbooks after the show.
Yeah, but guess what?
They still don't call you back?
They don't call me back.
Well, I think you just need to make them a nice lasagna and they'll call you back. Or some baked ziti, you know.
Ooh. To be continued.
Thanks, Star, for not sponsoring us. It's that time in the show where we want to hear from you. We'd love to see your comments on our videos, especially your rating of the movie and why. Now let's talk about some of those cool comments we've been getting, Teresa.
Let's talk about some of those cool comments. First up, we have Just Imagine 2403 commented on our news article about Tron 3. Insert excited face of Rebecca. Here's what they had to say. Boo, Jared Leto, the guy who carries around his own fake human head. Explain, please. What?
Do you remember the Met Gala?
Yes.
One year, Jared Leto, in partnership with Gucci, was feeling very Gucci about himself, kind of continued the thing that they had going on with the runway. He carried around a replica of his own head.
Oh, wow. I saw it, I'm like, what? Oh my. Well,
the outfit was really cool, and I think it's kind of neat that he carried like the runway theme through because they were kind of doing that on the runway too. So just kind of a little bit of brand synchronicity.
Yikes. I'm just back to the human head. I'm thinking, we're talking about Tron. Oh, and then all of a sudden human head. I'm like, what?
Does it make a little bit more sense now?
Oh, it does now. Our cinema community obviously thought it was funny. I'm like, wow, all right.
If you haven't seen this, it's pretty realistic. I was impressed.
The box goes, human head. Okay, well, all right.
Next up, we have JJW77, a loyal person in our cinema community who commented on our news article about Ryan Gosling singing at the Oscars. Here's what they had to say. It's nice to see both of your happy enthusiasm. Thanks for making my day. I think that's 3 exclamation points in this comment.
Wow. Somebody else is excited about Ryan Gosling too. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
He does excitement.
I tell you, it's not just me. Of course, we're both excited, but clearly you're more excited about Tron. I'm more excited about Ken.
I just don't know who I am without you.
You're Ken.
But it's Barbie and Ken. There is no just Ken.
Wouldn't that be just quite the movie? Just like clash.
I feel like that would be a really good Emmy skit. I know a few years ago, like the Golden Globes, they did this really great opening bit where Conan O'Brien was going through different TV shows to get to the Emmys.
Oh my goodness, I forgot about that.
So good.
I would watch this. I love our cinema community's excitement.
What if Ryan Gosling hosted the Emmys / Golden Globes? What if he did that? And then he did like the kind of going through the different things.
Well, his new stunt movie, The Fall Guy, is going to be out coming soon.
Why me?
You're a stuntman. Nobody's going to notice you. That's your job. No offense.
I mean, some taken.
He gets to add to the repertoire.
I hear Steven Spielberg liked it. Is that what you told me?
That's a spoiler. We'll talk next week.
Shh.
Okay. Finally, we have fellow movie reviewer Ravens OS Fan 89 who commented on our news article about Tron 3. Here's what he had to say. I'm looking forward to this one. Hope it's good. I also want to ride the train ride at Disney eventually. That would be a ride.
Have you seen the ride videos? It's interesting. It's kind of like Space Mountain, but you're on a light cycle.
Oh, wow. I just remember for your birthday, we went to Disneyland literally the day and Tron was big. And I mean, it just opened and everything. That's what I'm laughing about. I'm thinking, oh, that was the experience, the Disney Tron experience.
That was really cool because at that point they had like a Flynn's arcade and you could go in and you could kind of see some of the stuff they've been doing. And a couple weeks before we had seen the movie in IMAX 3D. It was just so awesome. I can't wait for just the publicity blitz that's going to surround this movie.
Oh, our cinema community needs to know you are loving Tron. The box is loving Tron.
It's taking a lot of effort not to hand flap out of my seat right now.
Wow. And we thought Dune was exciting.
Tron Hype lives!
Oh, here it is. Right on. Now it's time for some Hollywood news. Rebecca.
So this news is a little bit more somber compared to some of the more spicy and exciting Hollywood news we normally bring you. There has been a verdict reached in the Rust trial, and the armorer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. However, she was not found guilty of evidence tampering.
Let's talk a little bit more about that, because for our cinema community who may not be aware of it, Rust is a movie that's in production with Alec Baldwin.
That's correct. Yes, Alec also was a key producer in this film. So
That's
he's going to be brought up a lot during this segment.
Correct. And you're reading this where?
This is from Deadline, and Dominic Patton was the one who brought us the story today.
My understanding is Alec Baldwin is still on trial for involuntary manslaughter at this point, meaning July?
That's my understanding as well. His court date is definitely coming up, and this will certainly have a bearing on his sentencing, I imagine, as well.
This is pretty big news if you're following this, because involuntary manslaughter, my understanding, is up to 18 months, which doesn't feel long to me. The cinematographer was shot and killed because there was live ammo in the weapon.
Yes, and as well as the director being injured, Joel Sousa.
I was going to say, no, that I did hear that he was injured.
I feel like as a part of the cinema community, health and safety is an important part of the set. It's so easy to dismiss actors and other assorted talent as props in kind of a story, but there's a lot of safety regulations that go on behind the scenes. I know for me, this immediately brought back flashbacks of what happened with Brandon Lee on the set of The Crow.
I was thinking that too, yeah.
And that was a pure accident, like just definitively unlucky.
Yes, versus negligence, which is what this case is about.
It's also really tough because the more the trial went along, you started to discover things that kind of brought into question the character of the person being tried for these crimes.
That's painful. It's challenging because, like you said, accidents do happen. But we talk about the cinematographer, the set designer, costume designer. We love all the different aspects of the movies that we go see. I do find it is interesting when we talk about accountability. And I even think back when Twilight Zone, when they were filming that back before you were born.
Oh, yeah, I remember hearing about this incident. Yeah.
Right? With Martin Landis and all of that. That, for me, when I was younger, I remember hearing about that and how that went down. So I do think we have responsibility. And I agree with you. I think we have responsibility at Cocoon Cast not to bring just only the happy news, but the news that is out there that people are either aware of and get to talk about that. We'd love to hear our cinema community comment below if they've been following this trial, what their thoughts are around this. Do we have any questions from the box?
Over the years, as you've mentioned, we've had different incidents on different movies. Is there something you think Hollywood could do that would change this to make it more foolproof?
Right off the top of my head, I know some prop masters do have certification, but I think it would really help movie sets if there was a set of prop masters, so to speak. You have one prop master handling the cold ammo. That's the ammo that's not live or potentially deadly. Then you have another prop master that's holding live ammo. I think a little bit of an effort like that could go a long way to preventing things like this happening again.
I agree with that. I think there is a part where it's easy to say one person can be fully responsible for all, but human error is part of our life. When you're talking about the implications, and we're talking about, in this case, the worst scenario, right? Someone was killed and others were injured, right? The director, most notably in this case. It makes sense to me to have duplication in that respect. And I don't think it's a bad thing, although, like you said, it would require more energy, more resources. But I would think after Brandon Lee was killed, other things would come into play. And I'm not an expert on this, so other things may have changed, but it sounds like not enough has changed at this point.
I just feel really sorry for Halna's family. This did not need to happen.
Yes, I agree. By separating literally live, not live, two separate positions, two separate people, it will eliminate at least a vast majority of the confusion. I think that that's worth, as you said, a human life, someone who gave their all to this production and didn't need to die. I would agree with that. I think it's good that we're talking about this. Rebecca, what else is going on out there?
Well, after that somber story, I got some happy news.
Yay! Talk to me, happy story.
Clayton Davis from Variety has officially confirmed that every song nominee for Best Original Song is going to be performing at the Oscars this week.
Well, we've established Ken is performing at the Oscars, and who else? Billie Eilish, and anybody else we know?
A collection of artists from Killers of the Flower Moon from the Osage Nation.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
That's the one I'm most excited to see now.
Wow. And they're all taking a song from the movie, or
if you're nominated for Best Original Song, you're performing.
You're performing that song.
Yes.
Wow.
Isn't that neat?
I'm actually really excited about that because we talk about the music. We love the music in movies. How great it is that it's getting focus and love from the Oscars.
I think it's really neat because it feels less like a popularity contest now.
Oh, that's a good way to look at that. I like that because it's all uniform. It's not just, oh, we like your song, so you perform.
Exactly.
Although I think I was kind of playing that like, oh, they're going to do the Ken song. Okay, okay, I'm good. And I feel so bad now. It's like the Osage singers are singing, okay, so this is pretty good, so I should probably like that too. And I will like it. However, I agree with you. It makes it more uniform. Plus, I think it brings the music back into our awareness versus just the acting.
The film isn't just acting. I know it's pretty tough to fall into that trap, but I agree with you. I like how it brings the music back into our focus point. For every Oscar race, there's an industry behind it. For editing, there's an editor behind that. For production design, there's a whole team of producers saying, how can we make this look like our movie?
I'm cracking up because in my head, I'm thinking, and then next year they're going to have set design or the costuming. They're going to do this little runway model.
Hey, you know what? I would love to see that. I think it would be kind of neat, do like a little mini fashion show, like a little bit of commentary.
That's what I'm wondering. I'm just thinking it's comical, but to me it's serious. It would be like, wouldn't that be interesting? Then everything gets pushed forward a bit.
The Oscars ratings have been slipping for years. They need a surefire standby other than hiring the hottest comedian or the most well-known comedian.
It's a sad state of affairs right now at the Oscars in that arena.
Well, we'll see how it all turns out, won't we?
Yes, we will. Do we have any questions from the box?
You commented that for this one category, they actually do the songs on the Oscars versus, like you mentioned, a fashion show or something like that. Would you be in favor of them maybe not doing the songs one year and then doing the fashion show or something else just to mix it up and give us some new interest?
Oh, that's a tough question. Ugh.
The box stumps Rebecca. Wait, listen. I hear crickets.
Yeah, they're chirping a little loud today. I think the tough one for me in regards to this is I immediately think of the film A Mighty Wind. Now, A Mighty Wind soundtrack was highly regarded. In fact, they won a Grammy for one of the songs off the soundtrack, but one of my favorite songs was nominated for an Oscar that year, and they performed it live, so it was kind of cool to see the rest of the audience kind of discover the song in the moment, but they didn't win the Oscar for the song. I like the fact that we're getting to see all of the musicians perform. It's kind of got like that Tonys-esque element. You get a sample of, hey, this is why this song was nominated.
Honestly, it's not even fashion show music. It would be, could you do a show, almost, it sounds crazy, almost like a variety show, which is different aspects of the show. Because I think if we break it down to just one specific piece, which is almost kind of what it feels like with just the movies, some of the other aspects were missing, and names float by, or during the commercial we gave these awards.
That makes me mad.
Oh, right, that's been a thing too. So I think honestly it'd be kind of cool to just see different aspects. Not even each year it's something different. It's what about the whole show has the different aspects.
The Oscars are designed to celebrate the craftsmanship and the art and artistry of movies. Movies are just not one aspect alone.
Thanks for joining us this week. We're always excited to create experiences to bring our cinema community together.
Next week, we're excited to be reviewing on our Movies and More weekly show, the new movie, Arthur the King.
Please remember to like, subscribe, and to share our channel.
If you enjoyed this show, you might check out last week where we reviewed Dune Part 2. And on our Movies and More weekly show, we reviewed Perfect Days.
Remember, cinema community, movies are better together. Thanks for watching. See you in the next review.